welcome back to the channel. Today we're back on Project Cars 2 again, as today has dropped the Porsche Legends pack that includes 9 new cars to drive and a new race track. The Leipzig track, it's the Porsche test track that they use to test out a lot of their road cars and obviously also their race cars when doing a lot of work to build the new cars. On screen at the moment is a replay taken from the lap that I'm going to show you in a minute. We're going to do an actual full lap of the new track so you guys can see it in full, and then just going to quickly run through the cars that are featured in. We're not going to do full laps in all the other cars that are featured in the DLC pack, as it would take quite a long time I think to run through that. It's quite good value for money. I think you've got to be really honest, it's not the most expensive DLC, and it contains 9 new cars and an actual track. The only disappointment for myself, I'll mention it again after, is the fact that we don't get all the variations of the track. We only get the one variation, which is quite disappointing. I mean, it's obviously something to do with licensing. Maybe Porsche did not want to give them the license to have all the variations of the track. Maybe it'll come at a later date, but I very much doubt it. I feel that it's just this one variation that they've been allowed to do. It's not a common track featured in games, so that is probably the reason why. It's probably very much something to do with licensing, that is my guess. But it's an enjoyable track, but I don't think it's going to be a track that you're going to want to race around too much with fast cars. Touring cars, something reasonably slow should be okay on it, but it's not the widest track. It's probably not going to create the best races, but it's still a fun track to drive and hot lap. So we'll go through to the first car, obviously the Porsche Carrera Gt, top speed 205 miles per hour, 0 to 60 not the fastest in 3.9 seconds, 603 horsepower, weighing 3,207 pounds. The car is obviously a V10 engine, and it features ABS and traction control, although it's a 6-speed H pattern also on the gearbox, so I got myself the M shifter out for this lap. We're going to be driving obviously the track, the Porsche Leipzig track, and it's obviously the full track that's featured on this game. It doesn't feature the other variations, so we'll go on to the lap in 1 second as we start the lap. It's dry. Obviously for this lap I used the car that was shown on the replay then, the Porsche Carrera Gt. So we're going to go through a quick little lap of this track, point out some things. Not very good, it's not particularly a great lap. This was probably me, I think it was like 4th or 5th lap. I just basically learned the track. It's a very easy track to learn, I will say that. Going into the first corners, it's like a right then left. We didn't get the drift going that I would have liked. We had done it on the first few laps. We did get a nice drift, but we managed to keep it tight enough there. You want to really get it tight so you can get on the power really early. Then it goes into a reasonably tight second-hand corner in this car, where you can just keep powering out once you get the line perfect, and then you flat out all the way through that corner. And then we're going into a very tight hairpin corner up ahead. And it's a right-hander hairpin, and it's basically a test of braking and then also getting on the power whilst turning the opposite direction. You're going to see it goes very slowly into a left-hander, so it's quite good obviously for testing purposes. It's testing the balance of the car there as you turn it and getting on the power. Then it's going back into another very tight left-handed corner, so it's the opposite corner way. Obviously they wanted to test out every type of part of the car. And then you're going into a really another tricky chicane type corner, going down through the gears, and then it goes into a chicane, but it's quite a tricky corner this to get right. Obviously we're not pushing the limits anywhere near. And then again another tricky corner, which is very reminiscent of Monaco, the chicane at Monaco, but it's the way it goes into it. You're going into a fast corner and then it just suddenly hits into this chicane that's very much like the Monaco chicane. I do know that it's been designed to take some of the corners from famous tracks. Then this last corner we got totally wrong, went into a bit of a drift and had to really back off and get on the power really late. But as you can see there, it's an enjoyable track, but I don't particularly think it's going to be a great track for GT3 racing and stuff like that. It's mainly going to be a hot lapping track. Maybe like Clio Cups, they'd be a good car to drive here, or the touring cars. Next up we have the Porsche 959S, built in 1987, 198 miles per hour top speed, 3.5 seconds 0 to 60, and 450 horsepower, weighing just 2,976 pounds. It also uses the H pattern shifter, so I got that out again for this lap, just for this driving. Just features the ABS. We only did a very few short clip for the rest of the cars now, so you can hear the sounds on the cars. You can really hear the turbo whistle on this car. Just stay quiet for a few seconds so you can listen to it as we change gear. hear there, it's got a real strange sound. It's just such a strange sound. Obviously it must sound like that, but one area I do criticise Project Cars 2 on is the sound effects. I'm not a massive fan after playing a set, of course. I don't think they're particularly great. Next up we have the Porsche 911 RSR, the car that I'm probably most looking forward to, and the car that I'll actually do setups for out of these 9. 184 miles per hour top speed, 3.4 seconds, 525 horsepower, weighing just 2,755 pounds. Obviously this is sequential, so you don't need the H pattern shifter, and it also has traction control, but it does not have ABS as standard on the factory settings. Just very quickly, we did a very quick few laps in this. It's got a lot of grip. It actually feels closer to GT Sport in terms of physics than it does Assetto Corsa, but with more grip than GT Sport. It's very strange. I don't think it's anywhere near the level that was featured in Assetto Corsa. Assetto Corsa's, this car on Assetto Corsa was really the pinnacle of physics. I felt it got acclaimed by a lot of racing drivers. I remember watching a few drivers at the stream. They've mentioned how good this car is and how it feels very close to what it should do. So this car does feel nice on this game. There's a lot of grip. It feels like you can really push it. I don't think it's much realistic in terms of physics on this car, but it's going to be an enjoyable car to really push to its limits and get used to, and I'm going to definitely be pushing out some setups for this car, as I can tell it's a car that I'm going to enjoy driving on Project Cars 2. We'll probably do a setup at this track and do a little comparison to a Assetto Corsa maybe in the future, because I've got a lap from this track on that game with this car. Be a good I might have to do a comparison between all 3 games that I've got listed: GT Sport, Assetto Corsa and Project Cars 2, just to show you what I mean by the similarities between GT Sport and this game. Next up we have the Porsche 908/03 Spider. This was a surprise car for me. I really enjoyed driving this car. It's a 172 miles per hour top speed, only 350 horsepower, 3.9 to 60, but just weighing 1,245 pounds. 5-speed H pattern. Again, I got the shifter out for this. No traction control and no ABS, obviously with the age of this car, but it really did surprise me. Just a few short clips for this car. Again, it was so much fun to really, you could get the rear stepping out and really put the power down and control it really easily. Really fun car to drive, and a car that I will drive again. Really enjoyed this car. I can imagine some league racing in this car would be really fun as a one-leg series. Maybe some leagues will set that up, but I can guarantee it would be great fun in this car. It's not overly fast, but it's got a lot of acceleration because of the weight, and it's got so much grip. It's got more grip than you would expect from a car of this age. Whether that's realistic, I've got no idea, because obviously these cars are quite old, so I wouldn't really know. But great feeling to drive, and I think a lot of you guys are really going to enjoy driving this car. I certainly did. As you can see there, nearly losing it for that really fast right-hander at Road America, but again caught it really well. Next up we have the Porsche 911 Carrera Rsr 2.8, a very old car, 156 miles per hour top speed, 5.5 to 60, only 308 horsepower, weighing 1,984 pounds, 5-speed H pattern, and it has no obviously no traction control and no ABS, but again it's a car that's quite easy to drive, a lot of grip. Doesn't really need traction control because it's not got really the power. We only did a very brief test at it at Spa. It got a lot of cornering grip. You just got to be careful when pushing it. The rear will step out on you a little bit, but it's good fun to drive, and I think you guys are going to again enjoy this. This would be another car that would probably make a really fun league as a single make only league. I think it would really be fun, and some online races, because it's not overly fast, so the competition should be fairly close. It wouldn't spread out too much with it not being that fast a car, but again enjoyable. It does lock up if you're a bit too aggressive on the brakes. I used all the default setups for this test, so the brake pressures were a little bit high with the default setups, but that's one thing that you can change yourself when you come to it. Next up, the Porsche 917/10, 220 miles per hour, really fast car, 2.9 to 60, 1,000 horsepower, weighing just 1,829 pounds. 4-speed H pattern, so we got the shifter out again for this, but it features no traction control or no ABS, obviously with the age of this car, built in 1971. But this car really has some serious acceleration. You're going to see it in a minute. Just the way it accelerates through the gears. Obviously it's only got 4 gears, but the way it gets through the gears is just, it's not something you experience so much in racing games, because it's obviously the older generation with a lot of power. You can just see the speed on the right hand side. When we start accelerating, it just goes through them gears so fast, and it's only got the 4 gears obviously to hit 5 or whatever miles per hour the top speed. Again, an enjoyable car. You've got grip, you can catch it, but you need to be careful as that power will catch you out. Again, I'm sure a proper setup work on that would sort that car out and make it really a lot more fun. Porsche 917K, next car, 219 miles per hour, 3.2 to 60 and 600 horsepower, a little bit less than the previous car, weighing 1,763 pounds. Again, 5-speed H pattern on this one, not a 4, and it has no ABS or traction control as a standard feature. So again, a car that's got a little less power. Don't think it might be normally aspirated. That would probably be why it felt a little bit different. So you didn't really get the kick of power that the last car had. We just took it very briefly to Brands Hatch just to give it a little test. It feels really nice to drive, and I think again you guys will enjoy this car once you've got it. It's very understeery. That's what I'll say with the default setup. Definitely will need a lot of setup work to get this car where you want it to be. It just didn't feel like they kind of made the setup a little bit safer feel. So I think you need to get working on the setup to get rid of that understeer. That's something that I'm sure we might do want at some point, but I mainly really will be concentrating on GT3 and GT cars. Next up, it's a Porsche 935/78, built in 1978, 228 miles per hour top speed, 4.4 seconds to 60, 800 horsepower, weighing 2,259 pounds. No features in terms of traction control, etc. But it's a 4-speed H pattern shifter again, so we got the shifter out. A lot of these cars, obviously being legend cars, they're all based in the past when the H pattern shifter was around. So we just took it to Bathurst, did a very quick test of it. The default setup doesn't run the boost on maximum, so it doesn't feel particularly fast when you're driving it on the default, but I'm sure if you set that boost to maximum and did a nice setup on this car would be great fun to drive. It was a good car. It's a similar car to the one that was on the old game. Obviously there's 3 different versions of the car now. The next version is going to come up in a minute. You've got, I think it's 78, 81, I can't remember the other version on it. Obviously they're all very similar cars to drive, and they probably all share very similar setup traits. So again, a fun car to drive. Next, as you see there, this is the 81, the 935/78 81. Very similar stats you can see there, not much difference. 4.4, 800 horsepower, 2,259 pounds, 228 top speed, again 4-speed and no traction control, ABS, etc. And again, it's very similar to drive to the car that we just showed. So all 3 of them, the one that's already in the game as well, they're all 3 are going to drive very similar, and probably very similar to setup in terms of what you'd do to them. I've never actually done a setup on these cars. Might do one in the future, as I know they're quite popular with league racing and stuff, so it's something we could maybe look at in the future. Anyway guys, hope you've enjoyed this video. We'll be back with more videos very soon. Make sure you give this video a like if you've enjoyed it, and obviously make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button if you haven't done already. Overall verdict from the pack, I think it's good value DLC, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to enjoy a lot of these cars, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what else comes from the DLCs in the future. But I think the season pass is really showing that it's been good value so far with the DLC that's come out for this game. It wasn't overly expensive, the season pass, and it's featuring the way they've done the DLC definitely feels a lot better to how they did it in the past, when they just threw random cars. I like the way they're doing it this time, grouping the cars together. It feels a lot better, and you know, if you didn't want to buy a season pass, now you have a better way of hand-picking the packs that you want to buy. So anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video. We'll be back very soon.